Today, my top 5 observations from an unbelievable first Sunday of the football season.
Number 5.
The Giants have a coach. That guy, Brian Daboll, look, Saquon was spectacular yesterday. There were a lot of really good moments for the Giants. If I'm a Giant fan, and we'll talk to Nuno about this in a couple of minutes, even though he's a disgrace. But what makes me the most excited coming out of yesterday is the coach. And the obvious is going for the too late. But the thing I liked the most is that moment on the sideline with Daniel Jones. Jones throws a terrible interception in the end zone in the fourth quarter of that game yesterday. And Daboll is over there, and he's not in his face, but he's coaching him. That was not yelling. That wasn't Bill O'Brien and Brady yelling at each other. That was a coach correcting. That was a coach doing his job. He's coaching. If I'm a Giant fan today, I am delirious. I'm ecstatic. I have no idea how many games that team is going to win this season. But you cannot pass a test with more flying colors than Brian Daboll did his first game as head coach of the Giants yesterday. That's number 5.
Number 4.
Justin Fields is better than Trey Lance. I know that's going to sound like an extraordinary overstatement, but it was true then. That's the tragedy of this. Justin Fields should have been in the discussion to be the first pick in the draft last year. He should have been in the discussion with Trevor Lawrence to be first. The fact that he fell all the way to where he fell and wound up the 4th quarterback selected behind the very questionable Zach Wilson and very questionable Trey Lance is perfect evidence that NFL front offices, these people, they just outsmart themselves. You just overthink things. Justin Fields was sensational in college against top-level competition. He's got all the measurables. He's got all the intangibles. And you try to talk yourself into Zach Wilson because he threw one great pass at his pro day, and Trey Lance because you think he's got some sort of great physical tools that he hasn't been. These guys want guys they've seen less of. They want to be able to tell you what a genius they were that they figured this out. They don't make the easy decision. Now the Jets are sitting there wondering, well, who knew Zach Wilson was so small? And the 49ers are saying, Trey Lance has basically thrown 5 passes since high school. And Justin Fields out there by himself is fighting like crazy and finding ways to win a game yesterday in a monsoon. So I still don't think the Bears are going to be any good this year, but Justin Fields is a good player. In the right circumstance, you put Justin Fields where Trey Lance is right now, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So they got it wrong, and the entire league, they get this. This frustrates me no end. These quote-unquote geniuses who evaluate talent in the NFL, and they talk themselves out of the right decision all the time. My top 5 observations.
Number 3.
From yesterday. Number 3, the Cowboys are done. I hate to say it, and we'll let Bubba have the floor here in a minute. But every year, some team seasons are just ruined by injury, and that happened to Dallas last night. I'm sorry. I hate to see it. And people joke around all the time about how much Cowboys I do on my TV show every single day because people are interested. Because the Cowboys are the most popular and interesting team in the NFL to the largest number of people. But their season's over. You cannot lose Dak Prescott for 6 to 8 weeks and have a chance. I mean, it breaks my heart, and I'm not even a fan of the team. But the idea that, they'll rally around Cooper Rush or they'll trade for this guy or that guy, it's just not going to happen. Almost no team in the NFL can overcome losing their starting quarterback week 1 for half the season. And the Dallas Cowboys are not nearly good enough to overcome that. So it breaks my heart to say it, but the Cowboys are done.
Number 2.
Number 2 on my list of the top 5 things here as we continue with the green list on ESPN Radio. Number 2, the Jets are awful. And, I'm so upset that I don't even know what to say because they do some things right. And yet, it just, the sum total of it, the defense is flying around out there yesterday. There's things you like, but we can't find a freaking kicker who can kick. The punter stinks. The entire 2020 draft is a complete catastrophe. Breece Hall, Joe Flacco, it's awful. The offensive line is awful. The Jets are awful. So all the good feelings I had at halftime yesterday, I was thinking, all right, this wasn't so bad. And by the end of the game yesterday, I was ready to throw up. The Jets make me want to throw up. And they have done so many things wrong, and it just frustrates me no end. Look at all these teams out there yesterday. Look at the Giants fighting and hanging in there against a team that, in theory, is better than them. Look at Houston fighting their behinds off against Indy. Look at all these teams that, in theory, should be worse. And the Jets, that game could have gone on for 10 years. The Jets weren't going to score. Literally, they could still be playing now, and the Jets would not have as many points as Baltimore scored yesterday. They stink, and I'm just disgusted.
Number one.
But finally, number one, Pittsburgh-Cincinnati will be the best game of the year. No matter what else happens, that will be the best game of the year. When the year is over, we will say Pittsburgh-Cincinnati week one. You can't. That game was like the movie Titanic meant to be. Like the movie Titanic was 4 hours long, so was that game yesterday. The movie Titanic wanted to have unbelievable twists and turns. Yesterday's game actually did. It had more plot twists that you could never possibly imagine taking place than you could ever have, and they did. And it was a tragedy. They lose T.J. Watt. That's a horrible win for the Steelers. You can't feel worse after a win than I feel right now if I'm a Steeler fan. Because T.J. Watt is one of those players you can't replace. There are some guys around whom entire defenses are built. Darrelle Revis is a great example. The Jets finished number one in defense one season. And if you had taken Darrelle Revis off that team, they would have been in the bottom half. And that's what's about to happen to the Steelers. The loss of T.J. Watt is immeasurable. It's devastating. So that is an incredible game yesterday, but it is a win from which I think, unfortunately, the Steelers will not recover.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.